Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good morning, everyone. And today also we are going to continue with the lecture series on the fundamentals of Theravada. And last time we discussed about the Saddha Rūpa, the sound, matter of sound, and what was the opinion of the ancient commentaries regarding this idea, regarding this element. And sound is an element or a reality that arises due to two causes. One is the clashing of four great elements. Actually, the great elements except Apo can clash with each other. Due to that, new kalapas arise together with the sound. And then when kalapas which are attached to each other, when the Rūpa kalapas, when they are attached to each other or when they are close to each other, which are close to each other, get separated. Even at that time, sound arises. New kalapas with sound arise. So, due to the separation or a breaking up of connected kalapas, and also due to the clash of certain kalapas, sound arises. Then we moved on to talk about the opinions of this sound, because and we talked what are the kalapas which contain sound, and then it impacts, according to the ancient commentaries, these sound kalapas arise in generations, and they impact or strike against the ear sensitivity, so the person could hear the sound in the end. Then what happens is, according to the ancient commentaries, when sound arises due to the impact and due to those sounds, and new mahabhutas which are arising clash upon each other, and also they create more new sound. So likewise, the sound moves on in generations, in lineages, till the ear of the listener. Then and the problem, the reason why they have come into such idea is the observable delay of the visual image and the sound, which are happening at the same time. For instance, if someone is striking at or cutting a tree, we can see the image, the person cutting the tree, but the sound of the wood struck by the metal is heard bit later. And the commentaries attribute this delay to the time that takes these lineages of Rūpa sounds to reach our eardo. Then the obvious question that arises is, how could we understand the direction of the sound immediately when it is being heard? Because when it comes to smell, we are unable to locate the exact location or the origin of the smell by just smelling the odor. But when it comes to eye and the visual object and the audible object, we are able to locate its direction immediately. So the ancient commentary suggests that this is known through a law of nature, Dhammata, and according to so this view is more compatible with the modern science to some degree, not entirely, because according to science, sound is not a new matter that is produced by the clashing. It's the waves that are moving through the air or through a certain medium and strikes at the eardo. Now, but the similarities are the sound waves or the sound kalapas have to come and hit the eardo. That's the first similarity, and then the direction is heard as a natural law. According to science, it's known through the when it is heard by the both ears, when using the both ears, and the brain is capable of locating or identifying the direction of the sound which had arrived at the ear. Then so if you go to page number 2-3, the summary 4.474, summary of the ancient commentarial view. After sound is generated, it reaches the Sotaprasada through successive generation of great elements. So through the successive generation of great elements, the sound reaches the Sotaprasada. When someone at a distance produces sound, their form is seen first and the sound is heard after a short delay. When a sound strikes the Sotaprasada, its distance, whether near or far, and direction are known by way of a natural law. So these are the summaries of the ancient commentarial view on sound. Then we move on to the Pali commentarial and sub-commentarial view, which is an interesting point. The Pali commentary has refuted the view of the ancient commentary, which is an interesting thing to be discussed, which normally doesn't happen in the Theravada doctrine. But anyway, Venerable Buddha Ghosa has refuted this idea, and it has been embraced by the subsequent sub-commentators as well. The aforesaid idea has been strongly refuted by the Kali commentary, Mula Tika, and the Visuddhimagga Tika. Right, all were written by 3 different authors. Which Pali commentary of Dhammasangani is believed to be written by Venerable Buddha Ghosa, Mula Tika by Venerable Ananda, and sub-commentary on Visuddhimagga by Venerable Dhammapala. So if I go directly to the English explanation, if sound were to travel by a sequence of successive generation of elements, Rūpa Parampara, and then strike the Sotaprasada, it would be impossible to determine the direction from which the sound originated. Now, Pali commentary, now these are the main 2 questions to be answered regarding the sound. Why the delay? Why the delay? And then how the direction is known. How the direction is known. These are the 2 major questions to be answered regarding sound. Now, according to ancient commentaries, a delay is due to the Rūpa sound arising in successive generations and taking time to reach the eardo. Right? It takes time to reach the eardo. Then direction is known. Even at this level, the direction is known. For example, direction is known as a law of nature. Then the Pali commentators, they refute this idea, saying that if it is coming and striking at the eardo, one would not be able to identify its direction and location. It also has a point here. So it's saying that it's not possible. So therefore, the sound, when it arises at a certain location, for example, if this is the origin place of sound, and Sotaprasada, eardo or ear sensitivity, is knowing it. So this Rūpa, this sound is causing an image or a certain nimitta at the eardo, like the Rūpa, the color does. So it's not moving, physically coming to the ear. It's causing a certain image. So it's said. So therefore, its direction is directly known. At the same time when the sound is heard. It's similar to the observation we have through the eydo. According to science, yes, the color comes and hits our eye. That's how the colors are appearing, because our colors are not fundamental elements, they are secondary realities. Unlike the shape, the texture and so forth, the material thing, shape, size and so forth. Color is something secondary, color and sound, even the odor, the smell and so forth. And so, but still, according to our observations, we can see now, if you are seeing if you are seeing this phone from far away, we can directly locate that it is there. We don't need to search for it, because our eyes are detecting the color in its own location. If color has come and hit our eye, according to the Pali commentators, they would say you will be seeing the color here rather than locating the exact object on in the spatial arena. So now what they are saying is, but when we are hearing a certain sound, we exactly know where it is coming from. So according to Venerable Buddhaghosa, it can only happen if the sound is known at its own location. And he also gives an argument. There are archers or ones who shoot with a bow and arrow are capable of shooting the target even in the darkness, even without having any visual perception. They can just locate the sound through the ear-do. They are able to locate the sound through the ear-do and shoot at the target very accurately without making a mistake. So why is that? The sound is heard in its own location, its location of origin. So where they are capable of, and it's heard from that place. It's not that the sound is coming and hitting the ear like the odor or the taste or the physical tangible object. Now that was the argument. Then what is the delay? How do they answer the delay? Because it's a very obvious thing that we see, we experience a considerable delay of the sound being heard from the matter being seen. Therefore, now what they are giving is a certain explanation, personally, which I do not prefer much, because what they are saying is when someone is making a strike, for instance, if this is the man who is cutting a tree with an axe, for instance, now this is heard and seen. The observer is here, a bit far away, and he has eyes and he has ears, and both the visible form and the sound. Okay, if we draw the sound below, the sound due to the striking, sound are both heard or strikes at the ear-do and the eye-do at the same time. They are happening at the same time and they are causing the image at the same time. But what happens is the visible object is seen earlier. So the eye consciousness is observing the thing as it is happening. But when the sound arises, it's just one sound, a cluster of sounds arising throughout a certain period. New sounds are arising at that time. New sounds are arising. So now in this cluster of sounds, what the observer is hearing, the sounds at the later part, not at the beginning, at the later part. The beginning sounds are not heard, only the sounds at the later stage are heard. But visible object is seeing from the very beginning, So that's why the delay is. It's a delay of mental cognition. It's something happening in the mind process, like it's heard now. It gets manifested later on. The sound gets manifested in the mind later on, even though it strikes at the ear-do simultaneously together with the color. So that's the argument here. I'm not sure whether how accurate this is, because we can see observe a huge delay. If the sound is large, sound is very loud, and if the distance is very long, we can observe a huge delay in the sound being heard from the visible object being seen. So I'm not sure whether this explanation would suffice or satisfy most of the scholars, but anyway, that's what the explanation given in the Pali commentaries and also in the sub-commentaries. So we can read this in page number 3. Pali commentarial and sub-commentarial view. If sound were to travel by the sequence of successive generation of elements Rūpa Parampara, and then strike the Sotaprasada, ear sensitivity, it would be impossible to determine the direction from which the sound originated. Therefore, the idea that sound travels in successive generation of elements lacks justification. Instead, the sound originates from its source and directly causes an impact without transmission, without moving on the ear sensitivity by causing a nimitta without contact. It's causing a nimitta without the contact. This impact happens without the sound reaching the ear sensitivity. Because of this, the listener can immediately recognize the direction from which the sound originated. Now, this explanation is giving a very logical answer to the direction, because direction can be known because it's heard from the place of its origin, like the Rūpa is seen in its own location. A practical issue that arises is when someone is reciting Dhamma from inside a cave, a person on the top of the cave hears the sound as if it is coming from the door or window of the cave. Now, another issue is, even with regard to the direction, there's another issue regarding the Pali commentarial view. That is another observable phenomena. For instance, if someone is in a cave, a thick cave, a stone cave, the stone is very thick, and someone is reciting, sitting in there, is reciting the sound, reciting the gathas, and someone else is standing or sitting on the cave. And there are windows. There are windows from one side, for instance, a window, and the sound doesn't move through this rock wall because it's very thick. That's why a cave was given as the example. So how does he hear? He hears. Now, normally the observable phenomena is this person hears as if the sound is coming from this direction. As if the sound is coming from this direction. That's how he hears this. Normally, he would hear it's as it is coming from this direction. He may be able to guess it is coming from below. He may be able to guess as it is coming from below sometimes. But he won't be able to locate that the sound is heard from this direction. No, he won't be able to locate that. So his direction, perception on direction is where the window, in the direction, from the direction where the window is located. That's the point here. So now this would show that this seems like if the sound is traveling, because otherwise how could the sound be heard like? So the commentator's explanation is it's still heard from the location of its origin, but it's heard through, it's heard through this direction. So I don't know how much logic this, how much sense it makes, but the thing is, what they're saying is, now he's hearing it from here, and the sound is not moving, so obviously the impact is made by this sound on this place, but it's heard through this area. It's heard through that direction. That's what is mentioned here. So we shall read first. A practical issue that arises here is when someone is reciting Dhamma from inside a cave, a person on top of the cave hears the sound as if it is coming from the door or window of the cave. If sound were an asampatta gochararamana, object that is known without it reaching the sensitivity, then one should be able to know that the reciter is inside the cave. However, that is not the case. Even when a drum is beaten at the back of a large stupa, the sound can be heard from the sides of the pagoda. And does this experiential observation contradict the claim that sound is known without it reaching the ear? Asampatta gochara. Another observed phenomena is if someone is reciting in the back of the stupa, for instance, playing a drum, we normally hear as the sound is coming from both directions. That's how the observation, we hear as it is coming from both directions. But if, as the Pali commentators say, the sound is heard from its own origin, origin of its location of its origin, it should be heard directly. It should be heard directly. The commentary responds with the follows: Yato yato chiddang tato tato savanang hoti. Wherever there are openings like in a cave, from there the sound is heard. That's what is meant here. Thus, even if sound is an object known without it reaching the ear, the hearing of the sound occurs through the directions where spatial openings are. This is the position held by the Pali Atthakatha. It's very difficult for me to grasp this idea actually, because if now it's causing the image from here, that's very clear. It's causing the image from here, but it is heard through this side. It's heard through this side. Now, if there is a blockage or a barrier between the listener and the sound, and there are openings on other directions, it's heard through that place. It's heard through that place. So, we have to think like the spatial, the space, sound and the ear sensitivity we have to take it as a one realm, one unit, and consider that if there are blockages like burdens, disturbances, the sound is directly heard through the blockage. The through means like it's causing the image. It's not causing the image in this way. It's causing the image directly. It has to be like that. But it's heard through this side. It's heard through this side. Now, if you take, this is the ear, for instance, ear, and this is the sound, and this is the sound, and there is a burden here, and if you take this whole spatial thing as a one unit together with the ear, this is heard. It's causing the image here. It's directly causing, but it's heard through. It's felt through, heard through this side. It's heard through this side. I don't think what this commentators are saying that it's causing the image through this lane. No, it's causing the image directly. It has to be causing the image directly. Then, but it is heard through as if it is coming. Now, so the barrier is there, but sound is heard as it is coming from these directions. As it is coming from this. Seems like that's what is meant there. But if someone can still argue the image is caused by these directions, I don't know how much, what is the idea of such a notion, the meaning of such a notion. So, thus even if sound is an object known without it reaching the ear, the hearing of the sound occurs through the directions where spatial openings are. This is the position held by the Pali commentary Atthakatha. The ancient Atthakatha view that sound strikes the Sotaprasada through successive generation of Rupas is rejected by both the Mula Tika and Visuddhimagga Tika. The Visuddhimagga Tika refers to this view as a Kechivada. It's refuted, strongly refuted, saying that it's opinion of some teachers, and it's not given the like due respect it has. Then the refutation of the ancient view is based on canonical sources such as Patthana, which states that. Now they have a very strong reason to reject that. Chitta samuttano dhammo chitta samuttanassa dhammassa ārambana paccena paccayo, and saddhayatanang sota viññāna sahagatānaṁ khandānaṁ ārambana paccena paccayo. So this is the next point that they are bringing. Saddhayatanang sota viññānassa sota viññāna sahagatānaṁ khandānaṁ ārambana paccena paccayo. These passages indicate that a sound generated by mind can be an object to the mentalities connected with the ear consciousness, and also to the ear consciousness itself. Now, the point is, this is a bit complicated issue. Now, when someone is speaking, for instance, if someone is speaking, he's generating the sound inside the body. This is the sound he's generating, right? With the vocal cords, he's uttering a certain sound. And then this sound, which is a production of someone's speaking, is considered a chittaja rupa. Chittaja rupa is produced by the mind, and this is heard by someone else. This sound is heard by someone else. But Patthana says this sound is heard. This sound is, now this is a chittaja sound and it's heard by someone, and if it is to travel through the air and reach the ear of another person, now this is the point here. If it is to travel and reach the ear of another person, this has to go through the space. As soon as it leaves the body of the person, then that Chittaja Rupas turn into Utuja Rupas. Chittaja Rupas turn into Utuja Rupas. That's the point here. Those Chittaja Rupas turn into Utuja Rupas. Then it seems like when someone is speaking, we are never able to hear the exact mind produced sound by that person, because if the sound has to travel through the space and reach our ear, it's another fundamental that Chittaja, Chittaja, Kammaja and Chittaja Rupa especially would not exist after it has left the body. So and also it's very illogical to consider that Chittaja Rupas are arising in sequences due to, now if the Rupa is sound is traveling through the space in sequences due to the clashing of Mahabhutas in different locations, they have to be Utuja Kalapas. They cannot be Chittaja Kalapas. That's obvious, because Chittaja Kalapas are produced by the mind, and mind would never be able to produce something outside out of the body. So therefore, it seems like if the ancient commentarial idea is taken as truth or as a fact, then what happens? One would never be able to listen to someone else's Chittaja sound ever. But Patana says it can. Chitta Samuttano Dhammo, Chitta Samuttanasa Dhammasa Arammana Pachena Pachayo. It says that it is possible that the ear, consciousness and the mentalities are listening or cognizing the Chitta Samuttana Dhamma, something that is produced by the mind. And it's also clear that so the explanation goes as Saddhayatanang Sota Viññāna Sahagatanang Khandānang Ārammana Pachena Pacho. The explanation goes like that. So but the first sentence could be anything, because you can know Chittaja Rupas through mind, that's also possible. But explanation goes as Saddhayatanang, the sound element or the sound base can be known through the ear consciousness and its concomitants. So it means that the ear consciousness is capable of knowing something produced by the consciousness, so produced by the mind. Now this idea is contradicting with the ancient commentarial view. If, as the ancient commentary claims, sound travels in succession, then a sound that arises in someone while speaking through Chittaja, though Chittaja at the start, would have to become Chitta Pachya Utuja by the time it exits the mouth. Therefore, a Chittaja sound could never be an object for another person's ear consciousness, only for the speaker himself, right? Only even within the speaker zone. Now, one can argue, yes, now it can never be an object of someone else's Sota Viññāna, Chittaja sound, but can't it be the object of the person himself? Can't this sound be striking at this person and causing this? Now, can't this sound reaches the ear sensitivity and cause this image and listening? That's another obvious question. We can suggest that, okay, this Patana statement is for your own sound, not for someone else's sound. Even within the speaker's own body, the Chittaja sound would need to travel a short distance before reaching his own Sotapasa. That's also clear, because sound is produced at this location and ear sensitivity is in a different location. So if sound is produced, then it has to reach the ear sensitivity to go there, right? So that's another problem. So would need to travel a short distance before reaching his own Sotapasada. So it has to travel some distance from here to here at least, right? So before reaching his own Sotapasada, which would make it Chitta Pachya Utusamata, because if it is happening in successions, Chittaja Rupas cannot be in succession, because origin of the Chittaja Rupa is the consciousness itself. the consciousness itself. Then what happens is, before reaching its own Sotapassada, which could be make it Chitta Paccaya Utu Samuttana by then. Thus the sound that strikes the Sotapadana must be Utuja, not Chittaja. For these reasons, the ancient view is seen as contradictory to the Patthana and is rejected by the Mulatika. So Mulatika rejects this idea of the ancient commentary, saying that it's not possible. But one can still argue to defend the ancient commentaries. If I give a solution, like try to give a solution, if sound is produced at this throat area, for example the throat and mouth area, and ear is here, the eardrum, and it could be that the chitta is producing chittaja rupas all around the area, not only in that specific location. It's like it's producing throughout this whole structure of the face. So that could be striking the ear sensitivity. That's also another possibility. Like it's not only happening in these areas, its origin is this area, the vocal cord and the areas of the mouth, but still the sound is produced not only on a small location, confined area, but in a larger area. So it could be striking directly while it is arising at the ear sensitivity as well. Then the question comes about how are other animals who have larger bodies and whose, for example, take an elephant for example, ears are far away and his throat and trunk is somewhere else, and could this still be heard like that? But still one can give the argument, since Chittaja Rupas can be produced all over the body, but I don't think that it will be produced here, the sound will be produced here by the consciousness, but in this area, vocal area, it is produced in a larger area. So then it could also be striking the ear door. One can still bring such an argument, but when you look at it at the first glance, it seems like the sound has to reach at least a few centimeters or few centimeters to reach the ear sensitivity and strike at it. So therefore, the ancient Pali commentaries it seems like, as Venerable Buddha says, is in a bit of a trouble in explaining this point. Regarding the issue of delay in hearing sound, the Mulatika and Visuddhimagga Tika explains it as follows. The commentary has not given a specific answer for that, why the delay is happening. I think it gave a very short explanation, and Mulatika and sub-commentary of Visuddhimagga has explained it in detail. When from a distance washermen slap clothes on rocks while washing, people can see the action first and hear the sound later. That's also understandable, and it's a phenomenon that we all have experienced. This is only a perceived delay, not an actual delay in the striking of the sound at the ear sensitivity. They are talking about what we discussed here. Now someone is striking the a tree or striking clothes on the ground on a rock, and sound and the color is striking the sensitivities at the same time. And then delay and action delay, striking the sound. This reason for this perception is just a delayed perception. It's not an actual delay, right? This is only a perceived delay, not an actual delay in the striking of sound at the ear sensitivity. The reason for this perception is that in nearby sounds, sound continuum is prominent from the beginning to the middle and end, whereas in distant sounds, only the middle or end becomes prominent. The sound continuum means due to a striking, it's not just one sound arising, a cluster of sounds arising throughout a certain period. But still it will be very strange, because the striking happens at once, and there is no such a long-term production of sounds, it seems, because now if you strike at this, and it's even it's less than 1 second. There's no such sounds arising throughout a long period. Anyway, since the mind is so rapid and quick, what the commentators are saying, there's a sound continuum. Continuum is like sound is arising due to this strike. It's not that the sound is happening due to lineages. It seems it's happening due to this strike. That's how it should be. And then this in this continuum, if the sound is happening at a closer range, it will be visible. It will be visible means it will become prominent from the beginning. The continuum will be prominent from the beginning till the end. From the beginning till the end. But if the sound is a bit far away, only it from the middle part or at the last part, it will be prominent. That's the point here. So the delay is due to the prominent nature of the sound, the continuum becoming prominent or conspicuous to the ear consciousness. The reason for this perception is that in nearby sounds, sound continuum is prominent from the beginning to the middle and end, whereas in distant sounds, only the middle or end becomes prominent. This law of nature can be understood as follows. When a sound arises and hearing occurs, a certain duration of time naturally elapses. That's obviously seen phenomena. Rupas arise successively from impact, ghatana, producing sound rupas one after another. So due to the successive from impact, rupas are producing sound rupas one after another. We can divide these into three stages: beginning, middle and end. So due to this striking, some rupas are happening, like it seems like just a single, like I don't see personally how such long duration is taking place, but anyway, the sound which is happening has to be divided into three groups. Now the sound, successive sounds to the continuous sounds to the beginning. Yeah, if this is the sound arising due to the impact, and this is the beginning, this is the middle, and this is the end. These are three, right? So what happens is right. But produce sound on one after another. Rupas arise successive from impact, producing sound rupas one after another. We can divide these into three segments: beginning, middle, and end. When a sound is heard, both Sotadwarika and Manodwarika mind or processes arise. The ear recognition, the clear recognition that I am hearing this sound is made through Manodwarika Vitis. Now, when this is being heard by the ear, Sota Vinyana Viti and Mano Vinyana Vitis arise one after another, right? One after another. Then these mind door processes arise after the corresponding ear door processes that cognize prominent sounds. So at a later stage, Manodwarika Vitis, now when mind ear door process and mind door process are continuing, at a later stage of the Manodwarika processes, the one understands, I hear the sound. I hear the sound. The idea comes. Right? So, Sotadwarika Vitis arise equally when listened to both the distant and nearby sounds. However, the mind door processes which determine the hearing of the sound, Nichya Gahana Manodwarika Viti, arise only after Sotadwarika Vitis that have cognized prominent sounds. Now, this is the point here. It's a very interesting argument that they are bringing actually. Now, this is the sound continuum that is happening due to the impact. And this has three stages: beginning, middle and end. But Sota Vinyana Vitis are happening and Manodwarika Vitis are also happening from the beginning, but these Sota Vinyana Vitis, now since the sound is distant, the beginning part is not prominent, but it's heard. So with the Manodwarika Vitis, we get the idea that I have heard a sound, right? Though it was heard through the Sota Vinyana, we don't get that confirmation, that the idea that I am hearing a sound. So the Sota Vinyana Vitis are hearing the sound, like the sound is impacting the ear, but still the person doesn't get that perception. because in the beginning the sound is not very prominent. What happens is at the middle stage, for example, this is the beginning sounds, these are the middle sounds, and these are the end sounds. Now, Sota Vijnana Vitis hears a prominent sound at this stage. So, the Manodvarika Vitis comes into the conclusion that the person is hearing a sound. So, that's the delay here. But it's heard from the beginning together with the ear color. So, it's heard from the beginning, but since the Sota sound is not very prominent to the Sota Vijnana, the idea of I'm hearing the sound doesn't occur in the person. It means subconsciously like he's hearing it, but he doesn't get that perception. So it's a delayed perception. It's not about an actual delay. The sound is heard at the same time with when the Rūpa is being seen. When the Rūpa is being seen, right? So that's the point here. So Sotadvarika Vitis arise equally when listening to both distant and nearby sounds. However, the mind-door process which determine the hearing of the sound arise only after Sotadvarika Vitis that have cognized prominent sounds. For nearby sounds, many sound Rūpas from beginning to end are clearly perceivable. Because of the happening of Sotadvarika Vitis which cognize prominent sounds from the beginning, Nichaya Gahana Manodvarika Vitis also start to happen from the beginning. Therefore, the recognition occurs quickly. If it is a close by sound, what happens is this process, beginning, middle and end, this sound processes. Now, the three Vitis are happening similarly. Sota, Mano, these are the beginning, middle and the end, right? And the end. Now, in the close by sound, nearby sounds, the prominent sound is heard from the beginning of the processes. So the mind-door processes hears I'm hearing from the beginning. But here it is felt at the middle, I am hearing, or at the end, if it is very far, it's very far. So that's what is mentioned here. For nearby sounds, many sound Rūpas from beginning to end are clearly perceivable from the beginning. Because of the happening of Sotadvarika Vitis which cognize prominent sound from that beginning, Nichak Gahana Manodvarika Vitis also start to happen from the beginning. Therefore, the recognition occurs quickly. In the case of distant sounds, only the middle or the end portions of the sound become prominent. The initial sound Rūpas are not sufficiently prominent to the Sotadvarika Vitis. They are heard but not very sufficiently prominent. As a result, the mind-door does not generate Nichagahika Manodvarika Vitis following those Sotadvarika Vitis that engage with a less prominent initial sound. So the idea of I am hearing does not occur at this level. It doesn't happen at this level because the Sota Dvarika Vitis are cognizing less prominent sound. Instead, it waits until the middle or end portions become distinct distinct enough to trigger a clear ear-door cognitive process. Only then do the Nichagahika Manodvarika Vitis arise. Since it takes time for these mind-door processes to occur, we perceive that the sound is heard after some delay, even though we see the object which caused the sound is seen quick, even though we see the object which caused the sound is seen quickly. In reality, the contact with the Sota Pasada does not happen with any delay. So this is the point here. So the point now, what they are bringing is the sound strikes at the ear door and the color strikes at the eye door at the same time, but the idea that I'm hearing this sound is perceived or is felt a bit later. It's not that the sound is heard later, it's felt or it's known later. It's the idea of I'm hearing the sound becomes prominent and we are hearing a very prominent sound to our mind later at a later stage. But in the beginning stage, still a sound is heard, but it's not prominent to the mind. So this is the explanation given in the Pali, actually Mula Tika and Visuddhimagga's commentary also supports this idea. A further question arises. Now the problem I personally feel here is, now is there such a continuum happening? What is that length? For example, now if someone is striking at a nail or something with a hammer and fire distance, he strikes it, and he strikes it and it makes some sound. Is it that much? Is the continuum is that long compared to the observable delay? Because if the sound is very far, we may observe delay of few seconds. So if it is heard at the same time, for example, when the sound is existing, the present sound is existing, it means that the sound rupas are arising throughout that whole few seconds. And that's not the case, because the person who is nearby hears the sound and it disappears. He's not going to hear it again. But the person far away is hearing at a later stage. So it takes few seconds, a delay of few seconds. Obviously, this person has completely heard and it has vanished from his ear. Here, the perception is gone, and later the other people hear. Especially when it comes to bombs and so forth, we can hear that delay is very obvious for few seconds. So I'm not very much convinced by this explanation because of this point, because it says that sound continuum is happening, because it's not that the sound is generating still it can happen like it's generating new rupas with the clashing of mahabhutas over there, but still then compared to the delay of the listener who is far away, the close by listener must be hearing a sound throughout that entire process of delay. That's the point. Now if the sound happened at 0 seconds and it's heard by someone 3 seconds, so it means the sound is existing at that point throughout the whole 3 seconds. So the close by observer, listener, should be hearing the sound throughout the whole 3 seconds. That's the point here. Because if he's hearing 3 seconds later, and if he's hearing the present sound, because you cannot have you cannot say that mind-o processes occur 3 seconds later. I don't think that's the case here. He's hearing the sound at that time. So it seems like I don't see it's very practical here, because given the huge delay that we can observe, and also the rapid hearing of the close by person as well. So the commentary, the further question arises regarding echoes. If sound originates and immediately causes a nimitta, impact on the Sotaprasada, how does an echo occurs? Echo means the sound goes and comes back, hitting a surface and it returns back to the ear. That's normally how echo is explained. So how could, if sound is heard on its own location, how could echo be explained? The word for echo is there's a patigosa. The commentary explanation is that just as a magnet causes a reverberation in an iron from distance, the sound originally generated causes another sound to arise on a distant surface. In this way, echoes are formed. Now, if the sound is happening here and the surface is far away, and this sound is causing, like a magnet causing the cause a metal to shake, and a new sound is arising at this place, and that being heard. First we are hearing this sound, and then we are hearing that sound. So, but still, given the fact that the present sound is causing the impact, causing this sound, echo must be heard very quickly. It seems. right? So I'm not sure whether commentators were able to, Pali commentators and the sub-commentators were able to figure out this exact delay of distant sounds, whether they calculated it properly or not. That's something that I'm a bit concerned about. The commentator explanation is that just as magnet causes a reverberation in an iron from distance, the sound originally generated causes another sound to arise on a distant surface. In this way, echoes are formed. Summary of the Pali Atthakatha view on sound. Sound does not travel through in successive generation of rupas. Sound originates and directly impacts the sota pasada in an asampatta, without reaching the ear sensitivity manner from the place where it is originated. Because of this, the direction from which the sound originated is immediately known by the listener. However, when barriers such as mountains or caves walls intervene, the sound is heard through openings. The contact of sound with the sota pasada and of visible form with the chakku pasada occurs simultaneously. The impression of hearing later or hearing sooner arises due to the prominence of the beginning, middle or end parts of the sound continuum. So that was is an interesting point about the discussion about Pali commentaries on sound. Next day we are going to talk about the opinion of Paramattha Dipani. If I start it now, it may take some, and then next day we can compare all the three views and come into a better opinion about sound. The ancient commentarial view was the sound travels through the ear and impacts at the ear sensitivity, and the direction is, that's the delay, that's why the delay is known. But then Patigosa is also can be easily explained. The sound travels, hits the surface, comes back and hits the ear, which is very much compatible in collaboration with the modern scientific explanation. Not 100%, but to some extent. And then according to that view, the direction is known by a means of natural law. But the Pali commentators refute this idea and says that if it is reaching the ear, one would never be able to recognize the direction of the sound and would not be able to shoot things in darkness, and therefore sound is heard at its place of origin. And also they bring argument of Patthana, that the sound produced by the consciousness can be heard by the Sota Vijnana. If it is traveling, it should be a Utuja Rūpa that should be heard from far away. But still one can argue your own sound can be heard, but seems like still it needs to travel a shorter distance, and then one can argue that the sound is produced throughout this whole area, including the sota pasada. So those rupas are striking, so there's still a possibility that sound is heard, the chittaja sound is directly heard. Then what about the delay? The Pali commentators suggest it's not actual delay, it's a delay of perception. It's a delay that is felt to us because of the prominence of less prominence of beginning rupas of the sound continuum and the prominence of the middle and later parts of the sound continuum. Then how is echo caused? Echo is, now sound is producing another sound at a far away distant surface, and that sound is heard from that exact location. But the point is, the biggest weakness of this viewpoint in my regard is that whether they have calculated it properly, the exact time delays, because the observable time delays are very much to come into such idea, to say that it's just a perceived delay rather than actual delay of hearing the sound. So Paramattha Dipani hybrids these two notions and says the sound is not heard, sound is not reaching the ear, or it's not heard only after reaching the ear. It is heard from far away distance, but still it travels. So when it travels to a certain distance, and it's heard from there when it reaches the range of the ear. It seems like a very nice approach, but still we can find some issues that are difficult to be explained. We'll talk about that on next week, and in the next weekend. And till that, I hope you enjoyed the lecture. If you have any questions, you can raise now. Okay, so go ahead.
Sure. Actually, I am a strong believer of the ancient commentary explanation, like we discussed last time, and because there are so many other aspects also of sound which we need to try and explain. One thing which I wanted to ask you was, now Lord Buddha had the ability to, without physically going into a place, he was able to chant, or rather deliver instructions or deliver a sermon to a yogi who is practicing at a distant place. So now in that situation, obviously it couldn't have been just the sound waves which had traveled over that far. So instead, probably the Patana explanation would be more suitable in that situation. And that's a thought which arose in my mind. With the 𝐥𝐞𝐽 Rūpa may not travel, but somehow other with that superpower Lord Buddha possessed, he should be able to create 𝐥𝐞𝐽 Rūpa in the minds of the person whom he wants to convey the message. So am I right in that is my first question. Okay, let's discuss that and then we'll come to the second later.
Yeah, it seems a very interesting point which I didn't think about. It can be, it could be, but I'm not guaranteeing that, because one can argue like in such occasions he used to create a Buddha statue, Buddha figure of himself, and then that figure was uttering, as far as I know, because so he used to, it's not just a sound is being heard, then surely the yogi would get frightened to some extent. So Buddha would appear and preaches, and sometimes he may show himself from the Gandhakuti. I don't know, maybe it could be done, and then he preaches. And as you said, with the psychic powers that he had, maybe it's possible, and it's a very good suggestion that you are bringing. Maybe that's what the Patana was referring to, because otherwise, as you said, as we could see, that there is a problem with the ancient. The biggest problem, obstacle the ancient commentary is having this Patana statement. Otherwise, it would have been a very thorough, very solid explanation, in my opinion. But this Patana statement has brought some issues to this commentarial thing. So if we can say, but I have to go through the literature further to confirm on this, how he sent the sounds. I think maybe there is an explanation. My mind is vague about that, but he had done that in few occasions, that he is staying in the Gandhakuti himself. He used to utter the sound, and so the others could hear. And if that's the case, that it's something done with the psychic ability, which has some strange phenomena, and then the ancient commentaries are still in the safe zone, and they will not have any obstacle in giving that explanation. And that's a very good suggestion, I would say. But one can still argue, like saying that no, it's not how it is done. The Buddha is creating a figure, and that figure is uttering a Uttuja sound, because that's how normally it's done with the Manomaya Iddhi. I create another figure, and that figure I determine, may that figure preaches Dhamma. So it will be preaching Dhamma. It's not produced by my mind. It's something produced by the mind of. It's produced by the psychic mind of the yogi, but not at the same time. He determines, and the sound is being uttered. So, but still, it's a Uttuja sound in one sense, though it's produced. The initial determination was made by the mind. Maybe the Patana was referring to such sounds like sounds produced by the psychic powers, but still it's a Uttuja sound in the real sense. So yes, I consider it's a very good suggestion, but we need to justify it further to bring as a concluding remark.
Actually, the second question you partially answered already. I was trying to take the case of delivering Abhidhamma to the Devas, because Lord Buddha continued the delivery without interrupting it even for his
lunch, meal.
Yes, because when he met Venerable 𝐼𝐴 and repeated it, even during that time, that image could have been delivering the Dhamma. So in two different locations. So that's a special ability of Lord Buddha. We can accept that without any dispute. But even for that to be possible, we should be able to have this Patana explanation was my thinking that came up.
Yeah, so it's when the created image is preaching Dhamma, normally it's a Utuja Rūpa. That's how the tradition recognizes it. So Buddha, because while he was preaching Dhamma to Sariputta, still the image was preaching something else. So yeah, so that's the point. But as you said, if we can show that Buddha was, there's a psychic ability which can make someone to hear the sound from its original location. Now I'm uttering here, and it's heard, like someone is capable of causing an image of this sound on someone else's sota pasada from this location itself. Then the question is solved, I feel. But then the psychic intervening has to come, and still we have to consider whether it's possible, such a psychic power is possible, and we have to read the literature and find out. I haven't got such solid info, like gone through any information, like I cannot recall any information like that. But still, if it is possible, then it would be a very nice solution, and the ancient commentaries would triumph in this explanation if it can be done.
Thank you very much. I think we need to do more research in that area.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Theravada. So it seems there's no further questions, so we can conclude the lecture. And thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the lecture, and may this merit of discussing Dhamma help you to attain, help all of us to attain the final liberation, and also for the sustaining of the Buddha Sasana. Buddha Sasanang Chirantittatu, Buddha Sasanang Chirantittatu, Buddha Sasanang Chirantittatu, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu.